I call to order this meeting of the Warren County School Board for Thursday, May 14th, 2015. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda is for a public hearing. Mrs. McGinnis.
Madam Chairman, the public hearing is on the intent to sell property at 144 Water Street and retain the proceeds for school capital improvement projects. At your last board meeting, you voted to hold a public hearing to receive input on the plan to sell the property located at 144 Water Street and use the proceeds for capital improvement projects. The Code of Virginia states that whenever a school board determines that it has no use for some of its real property, the school board may sell such property and may retain all or a portion of the proceeds for such sale upon approval of the local governing body and after the school board has held a public hearing on such sale and retention of proceeds. And tonight is that public hearing, so you may open the public hearing.
Okay. The public hearing is now open. If anyone would like to speak on the intent to sell the property at 144 Water Street, there will be a time later on for community participation for other items. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is to accept or modify the agenda. Is there a motion?
I move that we accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Community participation. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? Okay. Please come to the podium, state your name and address. Try to keep your comments to about 3 minutes and realize that this may be the first time that we as a board have heard this information, so we may not be responding tonight.
No problem. My name is Sean McCloskey. I live at 547 Raleigh Ridge Drive. Last week I read the article in Northern Virginia Daily where Mr. Ballantyne went to the supervisors about the disposition of your $750,000 budget surplus. And one of the items that you all requested was $15,000 for a salary study. Let me put it, you don't need a salary study. You need a full PC&B, or pay, compensation, and benefit study. Pay, you need a pay scale for the teachers that encourages them to remain in Warren County with step increases, performance increases. Compensation outside of pay. People in this county, employees of the school system who are on the family plan pay twice what I do for a family plan for health insurance. I'm retired. Their contribution is exceedingly large. Things like that need to be looked at. What other compensation is being considered giving to teachers? Tuition assistance for those that are requesting or those that are trying to obtain their master's degree or their doctorate degree. And I'm not saying just give this money away. Contractual obligation after completion. But a little bit more than we're giving right now to these teachers who want to make this system a better place by furthering their education. And benefits. Has anybody considered offering a 457 plan with or without matching contributions? A 457 plan is like a 401k, but it is for state and municipal employees. Health care, dependent care, flexible spending accounts, where employees can contribute pre-tax dollars and then withdraw them to pay eligible expenses, also pre-tax. The reason that this full study needs to be done is you have instructional aides that are working to buy health insurance. They go home with virtually no money after they pay their health insurance premium. I talked to a teacher last Saturday night This teacher can walk across one county line. So I'm not talking Arlington, Fairfax, Loudoun. I'm not talking about the inside the Beltway and just outside the Beltway counties that are paying teachers $70,000. I'm talking about a local county. This teacher can walk across one county line, and probably will, and receive a $5,000 pay increase. In addition to that $5,000 pay increase, this teacher will save $6,000 a year on their health insurance payments. That's a total of an $11,000 raise to walk across one county line. We need to retain our qualified teachers. We need to encourage them to remain with us year after year after year and continue to contribute to this system. I think that everybody up there knows that our compensation plan in this county for teachers is lacking. I would be surprised if people didn't. I was surprised that out of a $750,000 surplus, that there was no request for funds for bonuses for teachers to make up for the poor compensation plan we have. I have a grandson that I am he's in my custody. He goes to Skyline High School. I want to see him have the best teachers that we can get. And to retain these teachers and attract these teachers, we are going to need to be competitive. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board?
Hello, my name is Melissa Rex. I live at 330 Virginia Avenue, and I am the mother of 7 children, 2 of whom are Skyline graduates, 3 current Skyline students, and 2 students at E. Wilson Morrison Elementary. I am here in response to an article that I read in the newspaper considering both the naming and the assignment of students to the new middle school. I am very concerned about the idea that Skyline students would be bused or sent over to the new school being built on Happy Creek Road and Leech Run Parkway. Regardless of what you name the schools, crossing districts like that is problematic for a number of reasons. First of all is the extra expense that undoubtedly will occur to the school system for buses that are traveling that far. Second is the expense to parents, both parents who drive their children to school, but also the parents of children who are involved in extracurricular activities, as my children are. Over the years of driving over there whenever there's a school much closer, people will expend a lot of money in gasoline, a lot of additional time getting their children to school. And I also question whether for some parents it would be logistically possible, say if you lived in Browntown or up at the golf course north of town, should you have children in elementary, middle, and high school and wish to drive them, it may be logistically impossible for them to get to school, all the children to get to school on time every day. So I think that for a number of reasons, that's a very bad idea. There's also the fact that if you were to assign students that way, children going to going to the Warren County High School pathway would get all the older renovated buildings, whereas children going towards Skyline would get all new buildings, which that doesn't, if I were a Warren County high school parent, that would bother me. I'm not, and I love nice new buildings, but for logistical reasons and it's the cost of expense to the school, I just ask you to please not cross things around like that. It also seems like there's potential for conflict with children going to school in a different district. Children, looking out their front door, seeing a middle school and having to get on a bus or in the car and drive 5 or 6 miles away. So whatever you name them, I ask that you keep the students going to the school that is physically located in the district where they live. And I do have one recommendation just to avoid confusion, that maybe you could, to the Warren County Middle School, as it is now named, the former high school, that you might could just add the word Skyline to the name and make it Warren County Skyline Middle School, or leave the name as it is. I'm just more concerned with where the children go. And I thank you for your consideration and your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Recognitions. 2015 VSBA Business Honor Roll recipients. Mrs. McGinnis?
Yes, this is, I believe, the third year, actually, that we have honored some of our local businesses with the Virginia School Boards Association Business Honor Roll. The first thing I'd like to do is to read a resolution that is for all three nominees. Whereas public schools and local businesses are an integral part of this community, and whereas many local businesses play a crucial role in supporting our schools, and whereas the economic health of our community, state, and nation depends on a strong public school system, and whereas collaboration between local public schools and local businesses strengthens schools and the business community alike by providing a well-trained and highly educated workforce, and whereas an excellent public school system is vital to the quality of life in this community and fundamental to preserving a strong democratic society now and in the future. Therefore, be it resolved that the Warren County School Board names Royal Broadcasting, SOS Consulting LLC, and Syntax Communications to the 2015 Virginia School Boards Association Business Honor Roll, showing appreciation for the firm's ongoing support of this community's public schools. Your work has aided this community in focusing on the goal of providing the best public schools we can for every child who attends them. And I do have a little bit to read for each of the recipients. And we ask that if there is a representative of each one of those organizations and businesses to, after I read the little blurb about you, if you would come up, and Mrs. Bauer has a certificate and a copy of the resolution I just read for each of you. The Warren County School Board recognizes Royal Broadcasting as one of its VSBA Business Honor Roll recipients for 2015. Royal Broadcasting has supported Warren County Public Schools in many ways for many years. The employees of the radio station report school division news accurately and fairly. They help us disseminate information through the Superintendent's Roundtable, Daily Education Watch, public service announcements, and the dreaded inclement weather announcements. Play-by-play coverage of home football games for both high schools allows our community to stay informed and involved in hometown sports. We look at the relationship between Royal Broadcasting, its local radio station, and our school system as a true partnership. We thank you for your continued support. And I believe Norma Jean Shaw is here to accept the certificate. Melody's taking pictures too, by the way. Susan O. Shaw, Ph.D., is president of SOS Consulting, LLC, and a resident of Front Royal for over 25 years. She's earned a degree in mathematics from the University of New York at Fredonia and degrees in industrial engineering from Penn State University. Susan has been essential to the success of Warren County Public Schools' Project Lead the Way engineering program. She was part of the early planning process that brought the program to our system and has served as an advisory member for 8 years. Beyond the normal advisory duties, Susan has given numerous hours in the schools and community promoting the program and assisting students in successful endeavors. Every year, Susan teaches the Engineering Design Development class, Engineering Design and Customer Support Principles. The 8th grade assemblies that occur each winter and the Family Engineering Day are 2 more examples of her efforts of support. The assemblies provided 8th grade students with the opportunity to hear speakers representing different engineering areas and to learn about the 4-year Project Lead the Way program that starts in the 9th grade. Because she knows that it's important to start children early in the pursuit of a career, she has chaired the Family Engineering Day program in which elementary and middle school students and their families are introduced to a variety of activities based on engineering concepts. The Saturday morning event is held in cooperation with the Warren Coalition. So please welcome Susan Shaw to accept her award. Smile for the camera. And I'm not sure if the last one is here, but I'm going to read it. I will read it anyway, and we will make sure that he gets his certificate. The last recipient is from Syntax Communications, and his name is Bob Williams. And Bob has played a major role in ensuring the technology infrastructure is adequate to serve the needs of our students and our staff. He was instrumental in organizing the initiative almost 20 years ago to wire our schools for network connectivity. Actually, we all helped him do that, by the way. Hopefully, we were good workers. He has volunteered numerous hours to help our school system with technology needs, and he's always willing to go above and beyond to make sure everything is working as intended. He's extremely knowledgeable and willing to work evenings and nights so he does not interrupt student instruction. Even though Bob's company, Syntax Communications, is in the business of network infrastructure, he volunteers a tremendous amount of time to our school system, and always with a great sense of humor. So let's applaud Syntax Communications. Once again, we thank you very much for your dedication, and your work with Warren County Public Schools is very much appreciated, and we look forward to continue to work with you in the future.
Okay, thank you. Kids voting. Mike Waters.
Good evening, Superintendent McGinnis, members of the board. I am Mike Waters, if those of you who don't know, Chairman of Kids Voting in Warren County, here to do what has become an annual event for us. I'm here to recognize some Warren County public school employees for the work that they have done to make kids voting of Warren County a success. First, I want to thank you for your support and for allowing me to make these presentations tonight. I was just thinking, I know that I've seen several of your names, board members, superintendent, on the list of volunteers, and I really appreciate that. On Election Day 2014, Kids Voting of Warren County had 843 voters cast their ballots. That number's a little lower than 2013, but still higher than the average of non-presidential election year average. Since 2007. That was when I first started doing this in 2007. First, once again, I want to thank Deb Drescher and Eric Jaworski for all their help. Without them, we wouldn't have Kids Voting in Warren County, and I really appreciate what they do. The first recognition that I'd like to make is the next recognition that I'd like to make is the Warren County Public School with the highest percentage of kids voting voters in last year's election. I'd like to unroll this so they can roll it back up. Okay, go ahead. We've been presenting these awards since 2009, the 2009 kids voting election. This school has had the highest percentage, including this year, 4 out of the 6 years that we've been recognized in schools, and that school is A.S. Rhodes Elementary. Let the principal roll the banner back up.
She's vertically challenged like I am.
Next, I'd like to recognize the teacher of the classroom with the highest percentage of voters. This year, for the second time since 2009, that teacher, I'm sorry, that should be 2007, that teacher with 44.44 44.44% of her class voting. From E. Wilson Morrison is Ms. Floy Bunning. Thank you. This is Jessica Cahill. She's the treasurer of Kids Voting.
She's the one that does
She makes sure I do everything right.
An official photographer.
Yeah. This year's Kids Voting Teacher of the Year coordinates the kids voting program in her school. Because teachers at her school were concerned about assemblies taking away instruction time, our Teacher of the Year and her co-teacher produced and created a funny video to encourage their students to vote. Teachers were able to show the video to their classes whenever it fit into their schedule. To quote a principal from the nomination form, "This flexibility and creativity shows that she really does go above and beyond to promote kids voting." End of quote. Since 2007, this teacher has been our Teacher of the Year 1 year and our Co-Teacher of the Year for another year. So this is a third year. So for one more time, our Kids Voting of Warren County Teacher of the Year, I try not to slur that, from E. Wilson Morrison Elementary School is Ms. Laurel Mandel. Laurel Mandel. Oh.
Thank you.
Again, I want to thank y'all for letting us make these presentations tonight, and I really appreciate your support of Kids Voting in Warren County.
Thank you, Mr. Waters. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Madam Chairman, I'd move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
All those in favor, second? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Reports, staff report.
There are no staff reports tonight.
Superintendent report. Mrs. McGinnis?
I just have a couple of things to tell you, and I have some other things to say when we get to the other superintendent presentation later on in the agenda. I would, first of all, like to welcome Arnold Williams as our new school board member.
Thank you.
The practice is always that the newest school board member gets to sit next to the superintendent. I don't know if that's good, bad, or otherwise, but
So that means I graduated, right?
you did graduate.
It's like that naughty child in school has to sit beside the teacher's desk.
Do I get a certificate?
So, for whatever it's worth, I'll try to keep you straight. Okay. And the only other thing two other things. One is that you should have a list of all the end-of-year activities that we can think of. I don't know how many hours of the day you plan to spend doing some of those things, but you're certainly welcome in all of our schools and to come anytime and spend any length of time that you want to for any of those events. I do actually have a third item, if I can remember it by then. Tomorrow is an annual celebration that we're very happy to be part of. Tomorrow, the Rotary Club, the Front Royal Rotary Club, will celebrate their Teachers of the Year, and Mr. Rosen and I will do the presentations. So we have the 8 regular schools, and we also have a 9th presentation that we do for our special programs. So we're looking forward to announcing those teachers and having them come to lunch, and principals will be at lunch as well. And I know I forgot the third thing.
Well, if you remember,
I'll remember. If I remember, I'll let you know. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. School board reports. Mr. Wells?
Start with me? Okay. I too would like to welcome Mr. Williams to board. I know he's a hard worker and does his homework, and he'll do his district proud. Two things to promote for Valley Health. Camp Med, which is a summer opportunity for students to experience what goes on in the hospital, see some things, actually even observe surgery and things like that. The application is online at valleyhealthlink.com, or you can call 636-0396 and speak with Melissa Boyce, who's in charge of that program. She's also in charge of what we call volunteers. That's I keep getting spell check every time I type that, so I know it's not a true word, but it's teenage volunteers. During the summer, there's a lot of excess opportunity at the hospital for some extra hands, and the volunteers, the younger volunteers, do a great job. We generally take them, one of them, into each department, particularly if they have some interest in that. Today I was working with a young man who wanted to do or thinks he wants to do computers when he gets out of school, and we've put him with our IT person, and he'll be able to shadow him and work with him. So if anyone is interested in your children being involved in either one of those, again, just go to valleyhealthlink.com or go to 636-0396. And I see that she's already left, but I wanted to say just a special thank you to Susan Shaw, because as we learned when we were doing our Perkins grant, one of the categories is what's called non-traditional gender roles, and Susan has done an absolutely excellent job of inspiring some of our young ladies to go into what's considered a non-traditional field of engineering, and so she's a role model in that way, as well as her other things that she's done with Project Lead the Way. And then one final thing, the VSBA Business Honor Roll recipients, I think we can't let it pass without once again reminding everybody that this was an initiative of Mr. Roy Boyles when Roy was president of the Virginia School Board Association. That was his initiative for the year, and now every school system in the county yearly recognizes some of their business partners. So we thank him for starting a tradition that it's nice for us to be able to carry on. And that's it.
Thank you. Mrs. Sharefko?
Just congratulations and thank yous to the staff members who help kids voting be a success. To our business partners, we need their help, and we cherish everything they do for us. And congratulations to Mr. Williams, and thank you for your willingness to serve on the board.
Thank you. Mr. Rosen?
Welcome, Mr. Williams. I'm sure you've been quite an asset for us. Also, just as a side issue involving our Rotary Club, I'm a member of the scholarship committee, and we interviewed the candidates the other week, and I think we're okay for the future. There's some sharp kids there. We're all right, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Williams?
I would just like to take the opportunity to say thank you to the board for putting their trust in me to help you guys get where you are and stay where you are. And I'll try to fill Roy's shoes, Mr. Bowles' shoes, but as we all know, that'll be tough. And Superintendent McGinnis and Mr. Drescher have tried to get me up to speed, so thank you to everyone.
Good, thank you.
I remember.
Mrs. McGinnis?
Oh, I'm sorry, you go ahead and do
No,
your
you go
report.
ahead.
No, you
After
do
you,
your
go
report
ahead.
first.
Nope.
The third thing that I wanted to let you all know about, and it's not on the list of the end-of-year events, is I received an email from BRAC the other day, and there will be a presentation at Warren County Middle School on May 29th. I believe it's at 7 p.m., and it's a musical. It's called Curtains Up, and it will certainly involve many of our students, and part of that event will be the dedication of the stage to Jenna Looney, who was a former math teacher at Warren County High School, and she was the drama teacher and when I was there, and so I think it's very nice that she will be remembered, and hopefully some of her family will be able to be there.
That would be
She
nice.
passed away, I guess, in the last year.
A little over a year ago, I believe. Yeah. Okay, thank you. And also, I also would like to welcome Mr. Williams. We're excited about having you join us.
Thank you.
We'll try to keep you straight, and as well as you will keep us straight. Mr. Rosen said that he thinks we're pretty well set for the future with the students that he interviewed for the Rotary Scholarships. I just want to go back a little bit on that. This past weekend, I was in Richmond on Friday and Saturday attending my daughter's graduation from pharmacy school with her doctorates in pharmacy. And there were 3 other students in that class from Warren County Public Schools. Kelly Kane from the class of 2006, Kelly Kane was from 2003, Thomas Madden from 2006, and Megan Kinzer and my daughter Elizabeth Bauer from 2007. And I was speaking with 2 of them, and they were just so complimentary of the teachers that they had at Warren County. And from kindergarten on up, I mean, 2 of them had undergraduate degrees in biology, 2 in chemistry, and just their response on how the teachers well prepared them for the rigors of college and their studies was just really nice. So the future and the past, we've done a great job, and we have some great kids in this county. So thanks to all the teachers and staff that have prepared our children. Action agenda, presentations by staff. Approval of Title I math coach for 2015-16 school year. Mr. Drescher.
Good evening. It's nice to see everyone this evening, and welcome, Mr. Williams. Glad you're here. You'll remember I believe it was September, you approved a part-time math coach position that has primarily worked at Ressie Jeffries. And math instruction continues to be a focus for all of our schools. And as you know, Title I funds can be used to fund supports for math as well as reading. And the reason we haven't in the past is because we haven't had enough funds to do so. We currently have reading coaches that support our Title I schools, and we would like to expand this to support to include math. And we have funding in this upcoming year. We did get an increase in Title I funds that would allow us to increase by a math coach position, and that is our recommendation to do that. And you can see the responsibilities would be for all Title I schools, which would be all 5 elementary schools, and this person would work with individual teachers to analyze data, plan for instruction, support teachers in the use of effective instructional practices, provide professional development on effective instructional practices, and then provide direct support in the classroom as teachers implement the strategies. They would also work and plan with the instructional resource team. And the funding is through Title I funds, and the 15-16 year funds will support that position. So you had already approved a part-time position, and we're coming to you now to do a full-time position.
Above and beyond or in lieu of?
In lieu of, yeah, unless we would find some other way to do that. But.
And this person, I assume, will be endorsed, teacher certified?
Mm-hmm, absolutely, yep. Need to be highly qualified.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any questions or discussion?
Nope.
Is there a motion?
Okay. I move that a Title I math coach position be created for the 2015-16 school year.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Drescher. Stay where you are.
I shall do it.
Program of Studies addendum.
You will remember in January, I believe it was, you did approve our program of studies. And we had kind of an exciting thing happen in the last month or so. We had planned to implement a AP Physics next year in 2016-17. And our 2 physics teachers have been very excited about doing this and have gotten together and have completed all of the work necessary to get AP Physics rolling for this coming year. So I'm coming to you this evening to just approve an addendum that includes the AP Physics that was initially planned for the following school year.
So there's a teacher at both Warren County and Skyline?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
And do you have an idea yet about how many students are interested in the AP Physics?
When I checked, in order to look at materials, it was about 17 per school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And it's a sign of their passion and excitement that they
Yep.
finished the coursework
Yeah,
early.
they
so-
did have to work hard. Mr. Stephen Rinker and Mr. Ken Castor, Dr. Ken Castor were the two teachers. Stephen Rinker's at Skyline and Ken Castor's at Warren County.
Great,
No, we're very excited.
that's good. Is there a motion?
I move that the program studies addendum for the 2015-2016 school year be approved.
Second. All those in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Drescher. Approval of 2015-16 health insurance rates, Mr. Smith.
Good evening. In your packet, you'll find a cover sheet with some information in regards to the health plan renewal rates. The renewal rates for the local choice health, dental, and vision benefit program is attached. The Key Advantage 250 and 1000 plans did not receive an increase from last year's rates. The health savings account or high deductible plan actually decreased slightly in cost from last year's rates. There are a few plan year changes to the programs. The changes are outlined in the local choice 2015-16 plan year change document inside your packet. In prior years, all plans have included and will continue to include a full comprehensive dental benefits. Beginning this year, the local choice that we have our insurance through Blue Cross Blue Shield, which mirrors the state plan, the state has elected to put in a preventative and diagnostic dental plan as well. So this year, employees will have the option to reduce their costs by electing to reduce dental benefits to diagnostic and preventative coverage only. There's no copay or co-insurance in the diagnostic and preventative dental plan, but employees may still choose a plan with comprehensive dental benefits as well, just kind of an added option. Inside the attachment, you'll notice that I've broken down the different plans, what the funding rate is, that's what the overall amount of the premium, and then the employer's contribution is broken down, and then the employee's price or the premium for that. And then there was an additional sheet that came out early or later in the week that really just looked at what we paid this past year as far as for an employee for a plan, and to look at what that cost would be for this upcoming year, where it's just a little bit less information there, but it's a little bit more visual, where you can see the difference in that plan. The cost and the financing each year through our budget process, we set aside the amount that would be our contribution to the employees' insurance. So that amount for this upcoming year for the financing of this contributions has already been approved through our 2015-16 school year budget. Are there questions I could possibly help answer?
Just an overall number of the total employees we have, how many have insurance of some type through us?
500 out of total amount of a little bit under 800 full-time employees.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, I was just glad to see that the rates didn't go up, and in fact, in some cases, they went down, so that's helpful to our employees.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Smith? No. Is there a motion?
Madam Chairman, I move the Warren County School Board approves the health plan benefit rates for the 2015-2016 school year as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Smith. First reading of February 2015 VSBA policy updates. Mr. Ballantyne, I'm glad this is the first reading. I didn't get through all of this.
Well, good evening, and as you mentioned, it is the first reading, with the plan being at our next work session meeting to be able to discuss it in detail, any questions and any changes that we feel you should be made aware of, and then at your first meeting in June, you would normally approve those changes for inclusion in our policy manual. Back in February, of this year, the Virginia School Boards Association submitted 25 policies and 2 regulations for consideration by you. And we subscribe to a policy services that they provide for members for a fee. And through that service, they keep our policies up to date with any changes in state code or any practices that are recommended that we include in those policies. A chart showing all the updated policies has been prepared by staff, and there is an updated chart at your place this evening noting the proposed changes. An additional 3 policies are presented for review but have no recommended revisions. And the reason they're presented is there's a requirement that every 5 years all policies be reviewed. So as part of that cycle, every time the ones that aren't being changed, that haven't been reviewed for 5 years, they'll throw them in. So that's why those 3 are in there. Copies of our policy, which outlines this process, are attached also. So unless there are any questions tonight, we can certainly discuss it in much more detail at your next work session. I would ask that if you're able, if you remember, to please bring this packet with you to that meeting to save us in the cost of copying the 111 pages again. But if you forget, I will be sure to have some extra copies there for you at that meeting.
Are there any questions for Mr. Ballantyne at this point? No? Okay, thank you. Presentations by superintendent, naming of new middle school. Mrs. McGinnis.
I do have a few comments tonight, and I'm glad Mrs. Riddicks is still here because I may end up reiterating some of the things that she has said. I know that I've made mistakes in decision-making during the last 14 years as superintendent, and I'm sure I'll make a few more before I leave next month. In whatever decision I've made, I've certainly tried to make the decision based on what's in the best interest of students. I made statements at a prior meeting that were made without weighing necessary information to make an informed recommendation. I'm withdrawing my recommendation to have students travel further to attend their middle school and their high school. This decision is based on transportation information gathered since my recommendation. The transportation information gathered is as follows. The travel distance between the 2 schools is approximately 3.2 miles. Crossing zones are projected to increase travel mileage for middle school routes by about 20,000 miles per year. This will increase fuel costs to an estimated value of $8,000 to $10,000 a year for middle school routes. The ride time for each middle school student could be anticipated to increase by 10 to 20 minutes per route. The 3.2 mile additional travel distance would account for about 8 to 10 minutes of that time, while the remainder is predicted to come from the fact that dedicated middle school routes will now include 8th grade students. The need for additional school buses and staff are certainly probable in an effort to minimize the impact on student ride times. No longer will high school students and middle school students be able to effectively be routed together. Also under consideration in my remarks are the things that Mrs. Riddicks mentioned earlier about the parent travel. It would be, if you had a student at an elementary, a middle, and high school, it would be pretty much impossible to get where you needed to go in a timely manner. You'd have to start way too early, and kids wouldn't get breakfast before they could go to school. And we do have approximately we have about 2,500 students that probably ride buses. The rest of our students, to make up the 5,300 that we have, are either walkers or parents or drive themselves. We also had a letter that I received from the town manager based on the article that he read in the newspaper about my former recommendation and requesting that the school board do a traffic impact study for what it would do to Happy Creek Road. I did send you each a copy of that letter, but I'll finish my remarks now. I know naming a school can be an emotional issue, but what is most important is not what a school's named, but what goes on academically inside any given building. That's where our focus needs to be. While we appreciate history and tradition, decisions need to be made for the future. Students need to be in school learning rather than spending more time getting to school. I do believe each school in our system needs its own identity. I know schools and other school facilities have been named and renamed over the years, but changing names at this point takes away the established school identity. My renewed original suggestion to you is this. Number one, keep school attendance zones the same as they are now. To select potential names for schools that the board can support. To post a survey on the school division's website to gather support for each school name presented. After you receive the responses, to consider the responses that were submitted. To choose the name of the school after input is considered. To name the school, and then the colors of that building would support the name of the school. And my suggestion is to have the first class of students determine the mascot and under the direction of the principal. Naming a school is an important responsibility, and I know you take it seriously. You'll never have 100% agreement from the public for the choice you make. Students will be proud of the name you choose and identify with being part of their middle school, as they will be proud and identify with being part of whichever high school they attend. So my suggestion is this, that you consider what I've said tonight, and at the work session in 2 weeks to come up with names that you can support, for us to send out a survey and get it back, and then to make a decision. I have had requests that this process someone in this room would really appreciate this process to be done before July 1st. So I'll just add that as an aside. But, I have to admit, I think what I said at the last meeting I should not have said, that I had not gathered enough information to make that recommendation, and I'm sorry that I did that. I've had more time to think about it. Again, it is your decision to name schools, and it is your responsibility. But in looking at the transportation information, I think that really turned me around. And again, bottom line is we're building this building for children of the future. We have many people in this community that are tied to that Wildcat history, that Warren County High School history. I'm one of them. I'm a native. I graduated from Warren County High School. I understand all of that, but we are not building schools and naming schools for the past. We are naming them for the future, and I think that's what we have to consider. I'll be happy to try to answer any questions that you have or at this point.
I agree with you. I thank you for that, and I think that's in the best interest for our students and the community. So.
Yeah, I agree with Kathy. And Pam, appreciate your comments. Very honest, very straightforward. I wouldn't worry about making mistakes. I've made 1 million of them in my lifetime, and my dad used to say, show me a person that doesn't make mistakes, I'll show you a person that doesn't get anything done. So there's a positive side to making mistakes.
So I'll put together some information for you for the work session, and we'll go from there if that's...
That sounds good to me.
Okay.
Any other comments?
Yeah, no, I agree. I guess the only comment I would like to make is I would just like to ask the town council that perhaps in the future maybe we be better to talk to each other rather than them to talk at us. There's been ample opportunity for them to approach us to discuss some of these things, and I think we could get a whole lot better solution if everybody was at the table from the very beginning.
Yeah.
But, I support your suggestion.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Discussions by school board, potential May 28th, 2015 agenda items. Please take the time to review those. Do I need to announce any of those?
I don't think you need to announce them, but I have been asked again by some person in this room to, if you could put a potential school board retreat on that
Okay.
agenda for the next superintendent would like to discuss that with you at the work session,
Okay.
setting a time for a retreat.
And the naming, that middle school
right.
discussion needs to be there, right?
Right, yeah.
Not on there.
And it's 5 o'clock start?
5 o'clock start.
Okay. We now need to go into closed session. Is there a motion to put us in closed session?
This motion is made that this open public meeting of the Warren County School Board become a closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711. The school board desires to discuss the following matters in a closed meeting. Section 2.2-3711A1, discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of 3 employees of the school board. And Section 2.2-3711A3, discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose, or of the disposition of publicly held real property, where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, specifically property located at 144 Water Street. Be it resolved that the School Board of Warren County does hereby authorize discussion in closed meeting of the matters identified herein.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Valentine, please call roll.
Madam Chairman,
Aye.
Mrs. Sharefko,
Aye.
Mr. Rosen,
Aye.
Mr. Wells. Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are now